Mitchell Peterson's hands trembled as she clutched the acceptance letter from the nursing program. 25 years old, and finally her dream was within reach. But the number at the bottom made her stomach drop. $15,000 for the first semester alone. Her mother's hospital bills had drained everything. She folded the letter carefully and slipped it into her purse. Dreams would have to wait. Survival came first. The Whitmore estate loomed before her like something from a movie. Mitchell adjusted her simple black uniform and followed Mrs. Chen, the head housekeeper, through marble hallways that seemed to stretch forever. "You'll be responsible for the East Wing and the library," Mrs. Chen explained, her voice crisp and professional. "Mr. Whitmore values privacy and efficiency. Do your work well, stay out of his way, and you'll do fine here." Mitchell nodded. She'd had worse instructions at worse jobs. This was just another paycheck, another step toward saving enough for her mother's treatments and maybe, someday, that nursing program. What Mrs. Chun didn't mention were the other maids. "Oh, you're the new girl." A striking woman with perfectly styled blonde hair appeared in the staff room. "I'm Vanessa. That's Nicole." She gestured to a redhead who looked Mitchell up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Mitchell," she replied, extending her hand. Vanessa ignored it. "Word of advice, Mr. Whitmore is off limits. Some of us have been working here for years, building relationships. Don't get any ideas." Mitchell blinked, confused. "I'm just here to clean." Nicole laughed, sharp and cold. "Sure you are. That's what they all say." Mitchell turned back to her locker, already exhausted by workplace politics she hadn't even asked to be part of. She had exactly zero interest in her employer beyond receiving her paycheck on time. Over the next 2 weeks, Mitchell perfected the art of invisibility. She studied Mr. Whitmore's schedule religiously, timing her cleaning for when he was in meetings or out of the house entirely. The few times they crossed paths, she offered a polite nod and quickly moved on. She had 3 jobs and night classes to worry about. Romance, especially with her billionaire employer, wasn't even on her radar. But James Whitmore noticed. He noticed how she was the only staff member who didn't linger in doorways when he passed. He noticed her having genuine conversations with Marcus, the elderly cook whom everyone else ignored. He saw her help the groundskeeper carry supplies without being asked, saw her studying textbooks during her 15-minute breaks. One evening, James entered his library earlier than usual. Mitchell was curled in the window seat, so absorbed in a medical textbook she didn't hear him come in. "Anatomy and physiology," he said, reading the spine. Mitchell jumped up, nearly dropping the book. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm so sorry, I checked your schedule, you weren't supposed to be. I'll leave right now." "Please don't." He held up a hand, his voice gentle. "You're welcome to study here. The lighting is better than the staff room anyway." She hesitated, clutching her book like a shield. "May I ask what you're studying for?" He settled into a chair across from her, deliberately keeping distance to make her comfortable. "Nursing school," Mitchell said quietly. "Or I was supposed to be. I got accepted to the program at State University, but I had to defer. The money just isn't there yet." "That's admirable. Why nursing?" For the first time, she really looked at him. His eyes were kind, genuinely interested. Not the predatory interest she'd been warned about, but real curiosity. "My mom got sick 3 years ago. Cancer. The nurses at her hospital were the only people who treated her like a person instead of a case number or a statistic. They saw her." Mitchell's voice grew stronger. "I want to be that for other people. Someone who sees them." James felt something shift in his chest. When was the last time someone had talked to him about purpose instead of profit margins? "That's beautiful," he said. "The world needs more people who see others." Mitchell glanced at the clock. "I should finish the 2nd floor." "Mitchell," he called as she reached the door. She turned. "Why do you avoid me?" She considered the question carefully. "I'm not avoiding you, Mr. Whitmore. I'm just doing my job. I can't afford distractions, and based on the hostile glares I get from your other staff, talking to you seems like the biggest distraction available." He laughed. A real laugh that surprised them both. "Fair enough." Over the following weeks, Their brief encounters became the highlight of James's days. He found himself leaving medical journals in the library with sticky notes. "Thought you might find this interesting." She'd leave thank you notes back, sometimes with thoughtful questions about the articles. He learned she supported her mother and helped her younger brother with college expenses. She learned he'd inherited his wealth but felt disconnected from the meaning of it all, going through motions in a life that felt increasingly hollow. "You have everything," Mitchell said one evening, gesturing at the vast library. "How can you feel empty?" "Because none of it means anything," James replied honestly. "I've had people pretend to care about me to get access to my money, my connections, my name. You're the first person in years who talks to me like I'm just a person." Mitchell smiled softly. "That's because to me you are. Money doesn't make someone more or less human, Mr. Whitmore." "James," he corrected. "Please call me James." But their growing friendship hadn't gone unnoticed. Vanessa watched from the shadows, her jealousy building with every smile James gave Mitchell, every conversation that lasted longer than the last. Nicole fanned the flames. "She's playing him," Vanessa hissed in the staff room, "acting all humble and disinterested. It's a strategy." "Then we need to show him who she really is," Nicole replied, her eyes calculating. "If you're enjoying this story so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our stories." The plan was simple and cruel. Vanessa knew where James kept his mother's jewelry, pieces he never wore but couldn't part with, tucked in a case in his study. One afternoon, while Mitchell was cleaning the third floor, Vanessa slipped into the staff lockers. The pearl necklace fit perfectly in Mitchell's locker, hidden behind her extra uniform. 2 days later, Vanessa mentioned to Mrs. Chun that she'd seen the locker door ajar and thought she glimpsed something unusual inside. Mrs. Chen's heart sank as she lifted the pearl necklace from Mitchell's locker. She'd liked the girl. Hardworking, honest, kind. But evidence was evidence. "Mitchell, please come to Mr. Whitmore's office." Mrs. Chen's voice over the intercom was strained. Mitchell's heart pounded as she climbed the stairs. She'd done nothing wrong. But the somber faces waiting in James's office told her something was very wrong. "Mitchell," Mrs. Chun began, "I found these in your locker." She held up the pearls. The room tilted. "What? I've never seen those before in my life." Vanessa stepped forward, her face arranged in concerned sympathy. "I hate to say this, but I saw you near Mr. Whitmore's study last week. You seemed flustered when you saw me. I was cleaning his study. That's literally my job." Mitchell's voice rose, panic threading through her words. James sat behind his desk, his face unreadable. "Mitchell, don't." She held up a hand, tears burning in her eyes but refusing to fall. "I know how this looks. I know what you must be thinking. But I have never stolen anything in my life. I don't know how those got in my locker, but I didn't put them there." "If you just explain," Mrs. Chun started. "Explain what? That I'm not a thief? I shouldn't have to explain that." Mitchell's voice shook with emotion. "I know who I am. I know my character. And I'm not going to stand here and beg you to believe me." She pulled off her uniform jacket and laid it carefully on the chair. "I quit. I'll find work elsewhere. Somewhere my word means something." She walked out with her head high, but James saw her hands shaking, saw the devastation she was trying so hard to hide. The office fell silent after she left. "Well," Vanessa said carefully, "I suppose that's settled." But James couldn't shake the image of Mitchell's face. Not guilty, but heartbroken. Heartbroken that he hadn't defended her, hadn't believed in her. That night he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about their conversations, about the woman who valued authenticity above everything, who was working 3 jobs to care for her family. Would someone like that steal? At 2 a.m, James went to his security office. If Mitchell had been in his study, the cameras would have recorded it. He watched 3 weeks of footage. Mitchell cleaned efficiently, never lingering, never touching anything she didn't need to. But on Thursday afternoon, there was Vanessa, glancing around nervously before slipping into the staff area during a time she should have been off duty. James's jaw clenched as he watched Vanessa enter. emerge minutes later, and smile to herself. By 8 the next morning, Vanessa and Nicole were in his office. "You're both fired," James said without preamble, sliding the security footage across his desk. "And you're fortunate I'm not pressing charges for theft and defamation." Vanessa's face crumbled. "Mr. Whitmore, please. You framed an innocent woman because you were jealous. You destroyed her reputation, her livelihood, because she had something you couldn't have, genuine connection. Get out of my house." After they left, the harder question remained. How did he find Mitchell and fix what he'd broken? James found her at Tony's Diner on 5th Street, wearing a waitress uniform, carrying plates to truckers and families. She looked exhausted. When she saw him walk in, her expression shuddered. "Mitchell, please. 5 minutes. I'm working." "I know. I reviewed the security footage. I know what Vanessa did. You were right. And I'm sorry I didn't believe you immediately." Mitchell set down her tray, her emotions warring across her face. "Why should I believe you're any different from everyone else who's judged me? You had one moment of doubt, and you were ready to think the worst. Because you taught me what real character looks like," James said, his voice raw with honesty. "You're the first person in years who saw past the money and just lived your truth. I should have trusted my instincts. I should have trusted you." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "This is a full scholarship to State University's nursing program. No strings attached, no expectations. Whether you want anything to do with me or not, you deserve this. You've earned it." Mitchell stared at the envelope, tears finally spilling over. "I can't." "You can. You will. Because you're going to be an incredible nurse, Mitchell. Don't let my mistakes steal your future." She took the envelope with shaking hands, overwhelmed by the gesture and the sincerity in his eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you made me want to be someone worth knowing," James said simply. "You reminded me that wealth means nothing if you don't use it to see people. Really see them, the way you see everyone around you." 6 months later, Mitchell stood in the lobby of State University, her nursing textbooks under her arm, her mother's latest scans showing complete remission. She'd thrown herself into her studies, determined to prove she belonged there on merit, not charity. "Mitchell Peterson?" She turned to find James standing there, looking uncertain in a way billionaires rarely do. "What are you doing here?" she asked, surprised. "There's a hospital charity gala tonight. I'm one of the donors, and I thought, well, I hoped maybe you'd like to come. Not as anything official, just as friends who maybe want to be something more. If you want. No pressure." Mitchell studied him. This man who'd been humbled and had grown from it, who'd used his wealth to help her achieve her dreams without expecting anything in return. "I'd like that," she said softly. "As equals." "As equals," he agreed, his smile genuine and warm. 1 year later, Mitchell graduated at the top of her nursing class. James sat in the audience next to her mother and brother, cheering louder than anyone when her name was called. After the ceremony, they went to a small cafe, not fancy, just comfortable, and laughed over coffee about how far they'd both come. "You know what I love about you?" James said, taking her hand. "What?" "You never needed me. You wanted me. There's a difference." Mitchell smiled. "You know what I love about you? You learned to see people. Really see them." They'd both found something rare. Love built on respect, authenticity, and the courage to trust despite past pain. In a world obsessed with surfaces, they'd found depth. In a life full of noise, they'd found genuine connection. Real love sees the person, not the position. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, leave a comment about what you think about Mitchell and James's journey, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Your support means everything.